Cool. Let's get started. Let me unmute Julio. Everyone else, we'll keep you muted for now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box. Feel free to raise your hand. There's a raise hand function in Zoom. Thanks for joining us. Doing a Q&A today with Julio, aka the Whooligan. Most of these students here are from Building Beats Group BB leaders, who are high school age, college age students, who are young creatives, trying to get it into the music world, get into the creative world. Wanted to invite Julio to come chat with them. This meetup was originally supposed to be in person, but because, everything going on is, we're going to do it on Zoom, and we invited the world to join us. So again, Julio, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here with you guys, and hello to everyone in the room. What's up? This is cool.
Cool. Julio, you want to maybe start out, just tell everyone a little bit about your background, how you got to where you're at, how the Whooligan came about?
Yeah, sure. I've always been around music. I think my earliest memories were, my mom teaching me how to dance salsa back when I was a kid. So music was always like salsa records, soul records, funk records were always a part of my upbringing. But I started collecting vinyl when I was in college, and that really turned into a really deep passion and love for wanting to collect more and more records and actually figure out a way to put them together and conceptualize all that and to start putting together sets. And then long story short, I got the fortunate opportunity to work at Amoeba Records in San Francisco, and that really became my formative sort of education with music. And just learning music on a much deeper level and how it affected people and how and how it really transform people's lives and just like the education behind it, because so many people that were shopping at Amoeba at the time, they were really hungry for that information and that knowledge of music and background and knowing all about the artist and the record and the release and all that kind of stuff. So it was really important for everyone that worked there to really have a good grasp on all the music. So I learned very quickly, and I was very much excited about learning all of that as well. But and luckily for me at the time, I got to meet all the DJs and a lot of the artists in the city, and even artists that were traveling. So I basically wanted to throw my own parties, and throw my own events. And I was so young at the time, I feel like I had to take matters into my own hands to actually make that a reality. And thought I had what it took, to get it started, and got some friends together, and we put these ideas and started throwing parties, and kind of the whole world sort of evolved from there.
Cool. Yeah. So when you were coming up in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, the Bay Area.
How old were you then? Were you underage? How were you throwing parties?
I was underage, yeah. But I was so, that was the reason why, I jumped into it so early, is because I just couldn't contain my wanting to share the music, and like really throw these events with the people that I knew in the community, the connections that I knew, and that I had. So, I think my first party that I threw, I was 19, I think, 19 years old in San Francisco at a spot called Club 6. Cool. And so I started working with them, and it was the relationship worked out really well, and it was me sort of applying myself to learn as much as I could, and to put myself in front of the right people to make these events and these things grow. And again, like, I was so grateful to have been in a fortunate situation to be working at Amoeba, where I had a lot of support from my OGs and my mentors and stuff, and just the support from a lot of the big DJs that were already shopping at Amoeba, who really supported what I was doing and saw that I had that genuine hunger for it. Were very, very much all a part of all of those early parties being as successful as they were.
Cool. How did doing that get you over to New York? Was New York always the final destination, or did it come about spontaneously?
Um, a little bit of both. You know, I've always dreamt. You know, I've romanticized New York from an early age, from from Biggie records and 90s hip hop and R&B. Like, that was such a big part of my upbringing. So I've always dreamt of coming out here for the music and being out here. But it wasn't until I uh, was able to make it more of a reality. I came out here. I used to have a collective back in the day called the Soul Vibe, which is interesting
Hmm.
because then I joined a collective called Selection, and that
Hmm.
was towards the end. So shortly after that, but basically with my crew, my homies, the Soul Vibe, it was a collective of folks from San Francisco and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
And
cool.
this is when the hip hop chat rooms and the boards and all that were really popping. So we connected through people like that, and so and it just so happened that we meshed really well with our peoples in Pittsburgh and created this collective called the Soul Vibe. And we traveled to Pittsburgh to do some shows with them. And this is like my early first interactions with Mac Miller and Wiz Khalifa, and the scene coming up in Pittsburgh at the time, because we were more of a producer camp. We had a
Hmm.
couple MCs, but mainly doing the music. And then after joining so from there, we did some shows and did some stuff in Pittsburgh, and we would naturally find our way into New York. And so we came to New York, in my early 20s, early 20s. And yeah, I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the energy out here, the music out here, the culture. And it was really special at the time. So that kind of like sat with me for a while when I was back in the Bay. And then when I joined Selection, I was responsible for all the global bookings and partnerships.
Hmm.
And at the time of me joining, there was only really shows that were happening in Los Angeles or San Diego or Southern California.
Uh-huh.
Um, so when I joined, it was a mixture of sort of managing what was coming in, and then also using my network to facilitate all these shows and help kind of grow the brand into what's now a global performance platform as well, like a really globally recognized performance group. So at the time, we were doing some shows, of course, in New York, but we didn't have much
Hmm.
of a presence here in terms of the business. And so that was the main reason why, a huge reason as to why I wanted to move to New York and make it official is how do we expand the business and have what we're doing in Los Angeles and kind of have some sort of holding ground in New York as well, so we could, I think New York and LA are the two main hotspots of music in the United States. So, the team was holding it down in LA. And then for me, it's like, okay, let's expand, let's go to New York and see what kind of magic we can create there. And of course, being able to take those meetings face to face and really work with bookers and venues and all that kind of stuff really was able to grow our presence here much, much stronger.
Cool. So yeah, it's interesting that you got involved with Selection, came out here, kind of grew out kind of the Selection network and the relationships and stuff in New York. While doing that, is I guess talk about like how did you collaborate with everyone in LA? I think with our students now, this is the first time they're doing kind of online education or just online work. What was that process like with having a team based out in LA, you being based out here, and then you guys ended up doing stuff worldwide?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of video chats, and what worked to our benefit at the time of me working with them, of course, was using the technology and social media to its fullest potential. And I think
Mhm.
really being able to adapt and embrace that and adjust change, and not even just with that situation, but just in general, what we're dealing with now with COVID-19, basically is having to really pivot how we do things and adjust, how we're working with one another. And And, you know, you can't be closed minded. Even the OGs, like, you know, like I remember, you know, talking to some OGs about, you know, social media and Instagram, and like, yo, actually, you know, you do have to post your own flyer. You have to kind of interact with people on a different level. And they were a bit reticent at the time, but now, you know, I think folks are, you know, obviously now folks are much more realizing that you got to embrace the technology. You got to adapt to the change. And so, you know, everything was utilized depending on where I was in the world, and what was readily available and what was accessible. So whether that was Skype or whether it was FaceTime group or Google Hangouts and stuff like that, a lot of text messaging, a lot of phone calls. So, you know, all that stuff was very much, we used everything. I used everything as much as I could to stay connected. And that's just my nature as well. I just, especially with teams that I'm working with and stuff that I'm doing, I just constantly want to be connected, and utilize whatever I can and what makes sense for everyone. So there's someone on my team actually right now in South Africa. And, you know, sometimes the internet goes out and there's load shedding, or the connection is something that they're dealing with. So we have to adjust ourselves and be like, okay, let's work on Google Hangout, or let's work on FaceTime, or let's all download the House Party app and let's get on House Party. That also works too. But it's just utilizing everything we can to stay connected, and, you know, not being afraid of that.
Cool. It sounds like you use a whole bunch of tools, you know, always necessary in today's world. For a young creative who may be in high school right now, trying to make it, what would you recommend in terms of different tools to use? To be creative, but two, even to be organized.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, really, to be organized and to be creative, I think there's a lot of research that comes into it, that plays into it for sure. I think it's important that, you know, because we're always getting different sort of advice and suggestions from all kinds of friends and whatnot. So I think what's important is for us to really be able to make our own educated decision that we want to use, and that's a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of playing around with stuff, and really not being afraid to do that. Because I know, like, a lot of different DAWs or you know, information that we're getting can be really scary in terms of how to maneuver through it, but just not, you know, just kind of go full throttle and just trying to figure that out, you know. And again, in terms of just like the technology that you use to communicate and whatnot, I would embrace all of it. But you know, for me and what I've learned, you know, I think it's important to be well versed in a lot of things, but it's also, you know, works more to your benefit if you stick with one thing and perfect it as much as possible. And then once you're able to feel like completely comfortable and you could almost do it blindfolded, then it's like maybe, you know, cool to kind of branch out and do and experience some other stuff. But I think just really sticking to one thing that you feel really comfortable in and really going for it. There's so many different resources and links that a lot of different companies offer: Ableton, Serato, Pioneer, Roland. You know, there's a lot of, it's all out there, and there's also a lot of free stuff that you can use. Even Splice, in terms of creation, is also a really important tool. And you know, it helps you really just figure out your flow and how you really want to structure things. And you know, all these companies are amazing. Even like BPM Supreme and DJ City and these record pools, like they all have a plethora of information for you to get from. So they have it there for free, for a reason, for you to really expand yourself and learn as much as you can. So all the information is really out there for you to grab and get a hold of.
Cool. Yeah, and you know, during these times when we're bundled at home, it's the best time to like learn and play around with it.
It's the best time. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess speaking about that, is what is a typical day for you now, you know, when we're not playing gigs, when you're not touring the world? What do you have a routine right now in terms of what you're trying to do and build for whether, you know, during the time of quarantining or even afterwards?
I mean, for me, I think it's important that I stay, that I stick to my routine, you know, and that's, you know, obviously like some days, this is already day 22 of the quarantine for me. And, I'm not going to lie, like there are days that are much difficult than others. There's days that are much easier than others. And for me personally, I had a really weird day yesterday. I was feeling super unmotivated. I had a little bit of anxiety. I was doing a lot of research and reading about grants and relief packages and relief packages and grants for artists and musicians and small business information and stuff like that. And so that is really overwhelming. It's really overwhelming and it can really exhaust you. So for me yesterday, I had one of those days, but every day is a new day, and I think it's okay to feel certain types of way, during this whole crisis. But typically during my days are really, really routined out, and I've been very disciplined in that. So, making sure like I get up, I shower and I treat each day like I'm getting ready to go to work. If I got to make my coffee to keep me sane, and like read my articles and kind of keep that routine to keep my cup filled. So then when I start and I'm ready to go to work, I have much more ease and comfort doing so. But when I'm not performing and traveling, it's a lot of the same. It's is working out, going to the gym. It's like making sure that I'm checking in with folks, and also just like really spending time on my craft. It's like whether that's digging for music or practicing some routines or practicing some sets and learning some more of the operational stuff of what I use in terms of the music software, and really just chilling too. I think it's important just to chill when you have so much going on. Sometimes resting your brain and your body is some of the most important things that you can do to really create more space. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean that's my day to day. I've been in terms of the quarantine and being isolated. I think that's something that towards the end of last year I was really trying to work on anyways. Because I travel so much for work, and the touring is pretty crazy, and I'm gone 75% of the year. So it's really a lot for me to constantly be on the road. So being here and just focusing and harnessing that and recalibrating when I'm home and just chilling and taking it easy is all part of it as well. But now it's like, I'm not gonna lie, like this quarantine is crazy. It's affecting us all, and I think it's sometimes I'll be working so much and I'll be doing some work and I look up and it's 8 p.m. and I'm like, damn, like how is it 8 p.m. already? And then there are other times where I feel like I've done a million things already, and I've already read a little bit. I've worked on some music. I did some work. I did some that, and it's like 12 p.m. and I'm like, this is crazy. Like it's not even like So I think each day right now during the current moment is pretty interesting, but just keeping myself busy again. Like I said earlier, there's tons of articles and information and knowledge that is being presented to us that I think is important to take advantage of, and constantly building your chops. It's the perfect time to practice. It's the perfect time to research and familiarize yourself. And that's another important thing too, is like, if the equipment isn't readily available, at least we can really absorb and digest the knowledge.
You got to go in the girls' room.
the knowledge and information that's out there, and really, understand the fundamentals and the history of what we're kind of pursuing here is really important too. But yeah, man, it's a lot of it. It's definitely every day is a little different, but I try to stay focused and stuck to a routine,
Or yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that during this time is like, sure, we're quarantined, but we are going through a crisis, and
yeah,
there's gonna be updates. There's definitely gonna be down days, and I get it too. It's people think I'm always out there hustling and doing stuff, especially right now. It's like I'm just not taking any meetings, just working. But there are days where it feels like a roller coaster. It's like this is going to be the bad part of it.
I
Cool.
mean, it's natural for sure.
Yeah. In terms of your routine in general, have you noticed any changes to it from when you first started as like a professional creative compared to where it is now? Do you think it's improved? Do you think there's always room to improve? How do you reflect on it from like 10 years ago compared to now?
No, for sure. I mean, there's definitely always room for improvement. I mean, I feel like even just in the past year, like I feel so much more mentally fit and in control of what I'm doing as opposed to 2 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I think it's constantly evolving. I think it has to. I think work changes, workflow changes, the frequency in which I've been having gigs and being able to having to travel and stuff, like all of that really affects my routine and my workflow. And I'm also building a new company right now, and so that's also very much into play as well. And just learning time management is something that will forever be studied and talked about. It's like to truly perfect your time management is a gift in itself. So it's definitely from 10 years ago. I was much more all over the place, absolutely. And I think I was much more reactive 10 years ago, and less proactive, if that makes sense. So I was just kind of like everything that was coming to me, I was just like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll do this, I'll do that. And but I think now at this point in my career, I'm able to sort of figure out, all right, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what can I shift around, what has what takes priority and what has more urgency than others. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and even now, like, no one's prepared for this. No one was ready for this quarantine to happen. No one was ready for this outbreak, and having to adjust again to that is a new, now that I'm fully home, as much as I've been wanting to be home and focused and working on my stuff, it's different when it's not fully on your own terms. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
now it's like, okay, now, okay, like, let me try to set a schedule. Let me try to, okay, this is what I'm doing at this time of the day. This is what I'm doing this time of the day. And sometimes, you stick to it and you're home and you lose focus, or one of the homies hits you up and you start chopping it up with them, or, a family member needs you. And, so you just got to take it as it comes, take it as it comes, and not be too hard on yourself when trying to stick to it. But there are definitely things that I know I need to stick to and really follow through, because if you keep things, keep letting things stack on and add on, it's going to be even more troublesome later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with our students, we are encouraging them to use Trello for project management. Do you have any sort of project management tools or anything you use to keep it organized in terms of what to focus on or not?
My teammates and I, like, my teammates keep me on my toes for sure. And one in particular, her and I, we work very closely to make sure I'm hitting these projects and staying on point. And she'll schedule it so I see it, because I work a lot from I'm such a visual. I work visually, let's just say that. And if sometimes if I don't see it on a to-do list or a project list or my Google Calendar, then I'll forget sometimes, or I'll start like, oh, I have a whole block here, like, oh, let me just go read something, or let me just go work on some music, or just zone out. But if I see that it's something I need to do, then I stay really locked into that. So I'm grateful for her and for the team for keeping me on point. But I don't use any other programs for project management, no. I used to work a lot on Slack. Slack used to be one, and that was a good one. That worked well for me as well. But yeah, see, like, you always got to figure it out. You just go ahead and roll with the punches sometimes.
Or can you talk a little bit about the new project you're working on? I know you have a team built already, but I think everyone would like to hear what is going on and what you guys are planning for. Maybe things are a little haywire right now, but the longer term thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I started a humanitarian organization called Room Service International a couple years ago. And for me, it was a way to, you know, I was becoming very sensitive in terms of what I was seeing when I was traveling on the road. And, you know, I just always felt, and now in my 15+ year career of music, I always knew that there was, I don't know, I just had this like very intrinsic feeling that like me connecting with the people was much more than just the music, you know? And for me, music has always been such an amazing, beautiful vehicle to get me to these places and be able to connect with all these people. And I'm super grateful for that. But I always knew that, you know, for me, especially in the last like 5 to 10 years of my career, I'm like, you know, there has to be something more, like how can we have a deeper impact and have more connection with the people that we're visiting and traveling to? And so, yeah, even more so the past 5 years. And so I wanted to create a way that we can, you know, still live the lifestyle of artists and musicians and being able to travel and perform in places all over the world. But how does that world coexist with having a deeper impact and providing much more service to the places that we're traveling to? So I created Room Service International as a way to be more mindful in how we travel and how we perform, and kind of understanding more of the impact that we can have. So what the company does is we use travel, philanthropy, sound, and capture. So there's 4 pillars of the company. The travel component is obviously us being the ones that are actually physically in these regions and us traveling to these regions. The philanthropy is doing the research and getting educated on what's needed there. So we're not going in there acting as if we know already what's going on and what they need, but we work very closely with our friends and promoters and venues and supporters that believe in the vision and the mission to help us activate projects that create change. And the sound component, the music component, is us throwing these parties and still being able to throw some really dope events and dope parties and play the music that we play and play all the raw stuff that we play and still party and have a good time. But now that all of those funds go back to support those local organizations. And then the capture component is us creating beautiful content, photography and video, and us being able to actually tell the stories of the people that, you know, we're representing and taking care of. So it's all 100% of what we make from the tours go back to support the organizations and power the tour essentially as well. So up to this point, it's been completely nonprofit. We've done projects in Tondo, Manila. We've done projects through Southeast Asia and Brazil as well. And each of the projects kind of depended on the needs of the communities we were traveling to. So whether that was, supplies for a youth crisis center, or monetary funding for another organization, or a feeding program, educational scholarships. And again, it's a lot of research too, a lot of cultural exchange. But for us, it's just really getting to just have a deeper understanding of where we're traveling to and a deeper connection with people, and really merging all those worlds together. And it's been a beautiful ride thus far. The last 2-3 years, my team is amazing, and because of them, the company has evolved into what it is now. And I think what's special about that is it's allowed to truly grow authentically and genuinely into a space now where it's much stronger than it was before. And you know, I've learned so much through the company as well, and the people I work with, and also the organizations we support. So it's a lot of give back. It's like, how do we give back as artists? How do we give back as creatives? And be there physically to also leave something behind. So when we leave, you know, there's programs in place, and there's music in place, and there's education there in place. So when we leave, you know, they can continue on without us. And then the plan is to come back and continually visit these places and do more work and keep growing with those organizations.
That's dope. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
using music as that starting point to really just affect and impact the entire community. I like it.
So it's crazy. We're about to launch the company and launch the website, and you know, the identity is being built out, and it's a really exciting time, and it's a crazy coincidence that it's happening during these times, you know. And our next project was going to be in Africa in June, and again, you know, working with local communities and the youth out there to activate movement workshops and really inspire movement within the minds, hearts, and bodies of Africa's youth, all powered by music, of course, and music being the vehicle to get us out there. And how do we work with educators and collaborators and professionals in their industries to inspire more movement within the youth, and then provide music as well as an inspirational tool for them as well to stay moving. So that, again, because of current situation in terms of when we'll be able to travel again is on pause. But you know, having these connections and still building with our peoples out there is still something that's happening on the daily. And I think just you know, still connecting and building that network and really building those friendships and allies and connectivity and sharing what we're doing and learning about what other people are doing. So when it's time, it's like we're ready and we're educated and we're ready to present ourselves and move forward.
Really cool, really cool. Do you have a specific place around the world that, you know, you would call your favorite place to play at?
I mean, I feel like each place has its beauty for sure. I mean, there's some places that I've definitely frequented a bit more for sure in terms of touring and stuff. But you know, it's really difficult to say. Like everywhere I've been has been such a blessing, and everywhere that I've been, I have so many deep connections and friends from these areas, and I've learned so much from them, and I've tasted food I never thought I'd taste, and you know, and played in places I never thought I'd play, and it's a really special thing. So I think yeah, it's really it's hard to say. Like with room service, at least it's you know, the reasons why we went to the Philippines the first time, and then we did Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, we went to Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and back to the Philippines. And we went to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in August of last year. And I think, and now going to the continent of Africa and being able to connect there and do work, I think because I've been able to travel to these places much more frequently, you know, I truly believe it's important for us to go where the love is and go where the support is. And so I think because of, you know, being able to travel there as much as we have, it's been easier for us to really activate in these regions of the world. So Southeast Asia, Africa, and even, you know, through Europe as well, we definitely want to work towards building as well. But yeah, man, it's tough to say. It's really tough to say.
Cool. Yeah, I guess moving on from there is like how the idea of room service came about and where it's going. What would you say is your process to come up with new ideas? How do you always think about like a vision for whatever projects you're working on?
I think that too, I definitely have moments of conceptualizing and writing ideas down and getting lost in the music and sort of just like finding some ideas. But for me, you know, the education that comes behind it and the research and reading articles and really digging deep into things and seeing how we can provide tools and be a resource to some of these places and people that we interact with is really important. And, you know, just, I think it's important to have a strong team as well. You know, like I'm super grateful for all the ideas that they have as well, you know, and us being able to ideate together. And, you know, if I have an idea and it's a whack idea, like they're going to tell me it's a whack idea. And I super appreciate that. If it's a great idea, then it's cool for them to be like, oh, that's a dope idea. Let's act on it. Let's figure out and things evolve from there. But you know, I do try to take as much time as possible to sit alone and just sort of like think about, you know, what it is exactly we want to communicate and what it is we actually want to do. And sometimes creating the most simplest but effective ideas are like, or simplest ideas are like the most effective sometimes, you know, because sometimes if you start going off on tangents, you sort of lose the primary focus of what you're trying to accomplish. So, you know, building out foundation and solid ideas have been really important for me, because sometimes my brain wanders, and again, my team has to keep me very on level ground and be like, okay, let's do it one at a time. Let's take things step by step. But yeah, I mean, I would say it's for me, I find that within myself and kind of spacing out and just taking time to write down ideas on pen and paper. And then also doing, conducting a lot of research and reading different articles and essays and whatnot, and just kind of thinking, like reading back into history and seeing how I can connect and do things differently with the company. And again, like just having incredible, brilliant people around me that have great ideas as well, and trying to, put those into play as well.
Cool. So we have about 15 minutes left. I wanted to open it up for anyone who wanted to ask questions. Anyone interested in asking questions? Maybe either raise your hand, the raise your hand feature in Zoom, or let me unmute here, or just show your video and then I'll unmute you and you can ask any sort of question. So Sam here.
Hello. Hello.
Hey Sam.
Hey,
Yeah, can you speak
Sam?
a little louder?
Yes. 1 second. Okay. Hey Julio, how you doing?
What's up, Sam? How's it going?
Good. I was just wondering what articles, you referenced articles. I was wondering what articles are you reading during your downtime?
There's actually, there's an app that I just came across. It's called Medium, and you could download that, and it's pretty dope. Medium has anywhere from politics to health and wellness, music, politics. It has all these different types of filters that you can go into. But I've been reading a lot from there as well, and a lot of those have been helping provide a lot of information and then sublinks and stuff. And then I also have this other app called Pocket, and Pocket is where you can sort of save all these articles to read at a later time. But they also have a lot of opinion type articles and stuff, and things that you can read from there and save them and whatnot as well. But those are two places that I frequent recently to get some cool articles for sure. And then of course just stuff that some homies will send me and whatnot as well.
Thanks for sharing.
Cool.
Yeah, no problem.
Crystal,
I'll write it in here too. The app is Medium, and then the other. How do you do to everyone? Okay, sorry. So Medium is articles, and then the other one is Pocket. I'm spelling all crazy. And then Pocket, where you can store storage basically.
Thanks.
Cool.
Just download it.
So,
cool. Crystal, you had any question you wanted to ask? I just unmuted you.
Well, I was wondering I know you started like this global platform. So I was wondering, with you and your partners that you built with, what would you say is the one thing that helped your business to catch on, like to really create like a platform where you had people coming in and like really being able to see, like, was it like ads, or what did you use to like get noticed the most?
I think one thing that's really important is the consistency in what you're doing, right? Like a lot of this is, it's I mean, I hate to say this, but nothing is really overnight, So it's like a lot of it is like, the consistency in what you're doing. It's like if folks know every Tuesday you're going to be at this place doing X, Y, and Z, or you're building a following and knowing that they're going to come to you at a certain time, and that's something that you always keep track of and stay disciplined to. I think that's a really big thing too. But again, like I was saying earlier, is really utilizing all forms of media as much as you can as well. So if you have Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and social media, of course, is really big. SoundCloud, like never having the mentality of being like, oh, I only use Mixcloud, so I don't use SoundCloud. It's like, put it out everywhere. I don't really use Apple Music. I only use Spotify. put it out on Apple Music. So it's like really, really using everything that's out there, because how we view it is not so much like it is not how everyone else uses it. So it's like, so we got to think of it in the sense of like everyone is gonna kind of tap into little different things, you know. So that's what I found to be successful, and also keeping the brand very consistent, keeping your how you communicate your message very consistent as well. The language that you use, the design that you use, you know, everything is super important, and the attention to detail is really important too. And engaging as well. I think that's a really big thing as well, as engaging with your audience. You know, like, you know, even if it's, you know, if you have 2,000 people that are watching, or you only have 2 people that are watching, but those 2 people are hitting you with comments or asking questions, you hit those 2 people back, you know? So it's like, it's really just like really keeping, you know, being inclusive and treating everyone, and, you know, bringing everyone in as if it's theirs. And also what I've realized recently as well too, more so recently, I should say, is asking questions, you know, asking more questions. I think right now it's important for us to not think that we know everything, right? That like my platform is the end all be all of humanitarian efforts or community service efforts. Like for me, it's like we're still really, really building our brand. And for us, what's important is like wanting to get to know people, wanting to get to know what they want and they need, and how we can deliver, you know, certain things, of course. But I would say those aspects for sure definitely help a lot. So the consistency in the branding, the consistency in the language, and just staying at it, and the frequency in which you're performing or putting something out, you know, like the output is also very important. You know, don't hoard your creations, you know, put it out there, and you'll be able to really reflect on it and watch it like a football tape, you know, be like, okay, cool, like at least it's out there now. Now let me go over and review it and see how it can be better. And trust me, like, you know, as an artist, speaking to artists as well and creatives, like sometimes, you know, being your own worst critic and having those insecurities is natural for all of us, you know. But the more we put it out, trust me, people want to see your growth. You know, people want to see like what you started with and where you are now, and be like, oh damn, like I got Crystal's first mixtape, like you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I got her first tape, I got this, I got that, and now, you know, I got her whole archive now. You know what I mean? Like that's really cool as like a consumer, as a fan, to really be able to like go back and be like, yo, this is so classic, like, not, you know. So I think just not being afraid and staying consistent, you know, with everything.
Cool. Alberto, I saw you had a question. You want to ask away?
Thank you, by the way. I appreciate that.
No.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Alberto?
Yeah. I'm a DJ and producer, and I've just been finding it a little difficult to be doing a lot of things at once, because I don't necessarily have a sort of team per se, like people doing specific roles and jobs in order to help out my brand. So I want to ask, was there any point or time in your career where you found yourself doing a lot of things at once to make sure like you're advertising this, or you're putting out this type of content, etc.? And then how did you like come about to find those group of people that you felt would support you in your journey or your career?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And, you know, to be honest, you know, there's still a degree of which that I still pretty much have to do a lot of stuff myself. You know what I mean? And like I was saying, like it's sometimes the days fly by, and sometimes I don't have enough hours in a day. You know what I mean? But honestly, like I think starting out is always gonna be like that. Like I'm gonna keep it 100% real with you guys. Like that's just what it is. You know, when you're starting out, like you're gonna have to make, you know, research and do the music together, record the music, find a way to record it, put it out, market it, brand it, design wise. You know, if you have if you can sort of barter relationships and barter things with your friends, like you got someone that's a designer, one of your homies that designs, like, yo, like, help me design this artwork, help me design this flyer, like, and then when you want to do a release, I'll play for you, or I'll DJ for you, or I'll make a mixtape for you, and we could collaborate. Like, I think that's trying to collaborate with people that you really vibe with is really important. You know what I mean? Like really connecting with your friends that are designers or photographers, even people that have some marketing like are savvy with some marketing and stuff. Like, I think, like this Building Beats is such a beautiful like platform for you guys, because everyone does a little bit of everything, so it's really connect with one another, and don't, and that's the other thing too, is like, don't, I think the overarching theme here is not to have fear, like no fear, like whether that's in creating, whether that's putting it out, like really just like have no, and even like connecting with one another, like we're all here for a reason, what I'm saying? Like we're all here to connect with one another. We're all here to learn and to be better and to be creative. Like tap into Lizzie Estrada, to Luis, to Tony Art, to Jada, to everyone here, and really like tap into folks and be like, hey, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Oh, I DJ, I produce. Oh, I design. Boom, you got a designer. That's like half of it right there. So I think it's just like really being able to get out there. But I'm not gonna lie, my man. Like it's always an uphill battle from the jump, but it's also one of the most beautiful uphill battles, because now you're really familiarizing yourself with everything, right? It's like if you got a camera handy, take some photos, do it. Why not? If you have, you have social media and stuff, like use that to its ability, start to craft your sort of vibe and your vision and everything. So when the time comes to pass that off to someone else, you're not completely like, oh, I don't have anything. Like, you do it. No, you have a whole like archive and information of stuff that you've been already working on yourself. But yeah, I think just like really connecting with your community, the people that are close to you the most, and seeing what they do. And even like the social media game is crazy now. You can, post something on your IG story, like, yo, which one of my homies like does design, like, yo, let's link up. That's what these tools are for, like, and when I first, I use it to my benefit too. Like, I think it's there for everyone to use, like, yo, we need we're looking for, casting calls, or we're looking for, an assistant or this, that. We put that up on social media and people reply, we get to know so many people from that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, and it's definitely, and I don't think, if you really want to have a lot of control over what's going on too, a lot of that's probably not going to stop for a long time. Like, even for me, like, I'm blessed to have such an amazing team, but there's still a lot of stuff that I got to do on my own, and again, it's just like, it's part of the territory, it's part of the territory. And unless, until we're like Jay-Z and Beyonce, what I'm saying? Like, a lot of work we got to do, but we're getting there. No, but I would just keep at it, man. Keep at it, and like, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Get your team involved. Get your homies involved.
Thank you.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, Alberto. Isabel, you had a question? I'll unmute you real quick.
Hi.
Go for it, Isabel.
Me?
Yep.
Sorry. My audio isn't working that well. So I have a question. So when you began your career, did you get a lot of feedback from people telling you that it wasn't a good career path because of the risk?
Yeah, I just had a real deep conversation, something very similar to that with a friend today. But I think there's always no matter what you're doing, there's always going to be people that just disagree with something, right? And for me and what I've realized, like, because I was playing soccer in college. I grew up playing soccer. I got a scholarship to play soccer at San Francisco State University, and I was playing there for a couple of years. And I was just like, I want to go into music now. Like, music is just my life. I've always like wanted to do it. I mean, everyone basically that was in my family, my parents, like, they're like, you're gonna go into music? Like, you have this and that, like, and it was very, it was challenging to get everyone's approval, but I knew within myself that that's what I wanted to do, and it's like everything is a little bit of sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be sacrifice. Like, what are we willing to sacrifice to make our dreams a reality? And I think if you're really putting your heart into it, and you're really putting like your soul and your passion into it, and what's difficult is sometimes it's people that you really, really care about, right? So you have to like really sit them down and have those conversations with them, and really try to get them on board with you, but inevitably it's sort of is your life at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's like, I wish, like, there were certain things that when I was growing up, whether in high school or in college, like, I was like now thinking in my career or just my life in general, I'm like, damn, like, I should have totally not listened to them at all. Like, that was like, it was a waste of waste of time and space. But, you take that, it's all relative at this point, but for young artists and creatives coming up, I think this is the time where that spark really is everything for you guys, so if it's people that you truly care about, then you need to help them understand why this is important to you. Is people that come and go, I don't know, maybe it's not even worth your attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you just got to remember that you're dope. That's it. You're dope at what you do, and you're different from everyone else. And it's time for you to just get moving, get on it, because the more you occupy yourself and what people think, you're going to lose time in educating yourself. You're going to lose time in your flow and, ooh, okay, yeah, oh yeah, she's fly. Like, yeah, she got her own style. Like, that takes time, that takes time. So do your thing. Always do your thing.
Cool. Got a few more questions. Thanks, Isabel. Cam Rule, is that how I say your name?
Yeah, you got it right, yeah.
Cool.
How you doing, Julio?
Good.
So I work with the after school program primarily for like 6th to 8th grade. So my question is basically, how do you get the younger demographic more into building beats, and like, do you have any strong recommendations you can give so I can get them more enthusiastic about it? Because everything is virtual now, so just working virtually is kind of difficult with this whole aspect of it. So I just want to know if you have like any recommendation or things.
These like 6th to 8th graders that are in like music as well?
Some of them are, and then I have like it's like half and half.
Well, I've always found that like music, it's like it's the easiest way to kind of create sort of, everyone has like is connected through something. There's like there's relative, like we're all connected through music. So there's synergy with that. There was like, when I was in San Francisco, I worked with, I think, younger kids in the YMCA, and I did a couple music workshops with them. And what I found was really cool was I would play them some songs that they like that are on the radio, right? And you play like music that they like, and then you go and then you play like the sample of what it is, or where the origin of that music, and you're like, oh, well, this came from this, and it's like sort of like, because at that age, it's like, I would imagine, it's tough to really get them to like draw on, as you're saying. So, right. and get your attention. So I think kind of kind of giving them a little bit of what they already know, and then finding the history behind that, I've found to be really successful when working with young kids. Like, oh, this is a Missy Elliott track. Oh yeah, I love that track. Or I love that. Oh yeah, well, this is a sample behind that track. Like, now let's talk about that. You know, let's go into that history. And I think them being able to relate to those sort of things could work too. And you know, even getting, I think, a lot of you know, guest speakers involved too is really cool too, because they get to see, you know, and I understand my mom's an educator as well, so I you know, obviously, like kids, they see the same teacher every day, and they, you know, it's that, but also seeing someone new is just as exciting to them, you know. So so I think bringing in a lot of speakers and stuff to have different perspectives is pretty cool too.
Thanks, man.
Cool. Angel, I see you have a question. Let me unmute you real quick.
Hey Julio, how you doing? Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, I know you talked about research, and for me, I'm really aiming to be kind of like I guess you could say like a jack of all trades. Like, I want to do a lot or learn a lot in the music business, but like I seem to sometimes struggle with like differentiating on like how much should I focus on this rather than something else. So it's like, do you have any advice in terms of just like how much you should learn about one thing before you kind of like stop doing it and then go on to the next?
I think honestly, man, like this is a long play, you know. It's a forever game, you know. It's like I don't think I'll ever know everything there is to know about DJing, you know. I don't think I'll ever know everything there is to know about music management or marketing or any of those things. So I think it is important. I think it's important to be well versed in the music industry and kind of know a little bit of everything, but at the same time too, like, it is also important to really hone in on something, you know, to really hone in on something that you really truly care about and want to excel in, and really putting a lot of energy into that. But, you know, I would say really time management is really crucial too, you know, like, and maybe setting a schedule for yourself where maybe at first you're writing these things down. So you're like, you know what, like, okay, so from 12 to 1, I'm going to read a little bit from this blog, or I'm going to read a little bit from this website. From 1 to 3, I'm going to actually work on some music. I'm going to dig, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. From 3 to 4, I'm going to write my own ideas down. Like, let me think about the stuff that I read. Let me think about some of the problems that I encountered when I was digging or when I was working on music. Like, what can I do? So you start to sort of like, you know, you start to sort of to separate like kind of all the different sections of what you're trying to learn, you know. But and then maybe through that you'll see that I actually want to learn more about writing, so I'm going to do less production, or, you know, I want to learn more about this, so I'm going to give myself more time. And I think naturally you'll sort of find your flow and what naturally you want to stick to. But I can honestly say that, to be honest, like, I feel like in my almost 20-year career that I'm still so hungry to learn so much more, you know. I'm like the hungriest I've been to learn as a student, you know. So I don't think that will truly ever go away, you know. And because of that, I've learned more, I've researched more, and now, like, I feel like I'm stronger in how I make music. I'm stronger in how I manipulate CDJs and turntables and all that kind of stuff, because I'm so hungry for that sort of knowledge. But yeah, I would say don't feel discouraged that you're doing so much right now, but just try to prioritize it a little more. Like, make a little table, and I said, like I was saying, like, really try to structure what you're doing, so you don't have like 10 tabs open, your Spotify open, your turntables are playing, you know. You're like, you know, like, really focus on one thing at a time and really attack it like that. And I think you'll really start to figure out a lot of what your flow is and what you're into and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions? Sweet. Otherwise, Julio,
SpongeBob is lit.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us, joining our crew, and glad the students. Hopefully, they got a lot out of it. I thought there were a lot of good questions they asked.
Great question. Thank you.
I'm putting the Whooligan and Room Service International's Instagram in the chat box. You guys want to follow him, follow Room Service, see what he's up to.
That's another thing too. Now that you guys have Room Service is the company, but obviously mine the Whooligan. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, DM me, and whatever I can do, whatever assistance I can provide y'all, or further information, or some links, or whatever you guys need. Like, by all means, don't be afraid to hit me up.
Hey, Hooligan, this is Sam again. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I was just gonna say, a lot of our students are working on a lot of great music, and I'm sure they're wondering if they could share it with you as well.
I would love to hear that. What's
great.
up, Alberto? You got some heat?
Alberto got a bunch of heat. Yeah, we'll start collecting some stuff and sending it over to you.
I'll make sure they add it to
got
Trello.
Some heat too.
I just dropped the song today, so really excited.
By all means, definitely. I'd love to. Are you guys doing a project, or are you guys just kind of making some tracks on your own, or?
Oh no, this was individually. This is like my own brand. Yeah.
Okay, word. Yeah. No, honestly, like, I would love to hear you guys' music. So shoot me links over at on Instagram. I'll check it out. 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Yeah, Julio, again, thanks for joining us. I thought there was a lot of insight there. I think everyone learned a little bit of everything today.
Honored to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Luck,
Stay
y'all.
safe during these times. Once we're out of it, hopefully we can have you come in person and meet everyone in person.
For sure. Definitely. Stay safe, y'all.
Same to you.
Much love. Peace.
Cool. Yeah, everyone, thanks for joining. We'll catch up. You'll see more workshops and stuff come from us. Reach out to me, reach out to Sam, reach out to Julio if you guys have any other questions. Stay safe, y'all.